The reality is, if these people keep acting like this, if they keep trying to ruin people's lives for their own personal gain, something's going to break. Something's going to break, and it's not going to be us. Because we are strong. We are workers. There's a weak link in this chain, and it isn't the workers who built it. That's just what I think. Have you all been keeping up with the union strikes going on at the moment? Yeah, I've been watching Adam and Conover. Ooh, cool. Great stuff. Love to see it. All right. In this country, at least these days, you're starting to hear a lot more about socialism, communism. All of these sorts of ideologies, for at least for a long time in this country, are seen as the boogeyman. I think Lula De Silva, president of the United States of Brazil, put it really well.
Ele nos acusa de comunistas achando que nós ficamos ofendidos com isso. Nós não ficamos ofendidos. Nós ficaríamos ofendidos. Nós ficaríamos ofendidos se nos chamasse de nazista, de neofascista, de terrorista, mas de comunista, de socialista, nunca.
True. I can't find myself disagreeing with that. They try and use that as an insult to call us things like socialist, communist. We're not offended by that. I'd be offended if I was a Nazi, or a terrorist, or a fascist. Those are the things that would offend me. I'm not a socialist or a communist. Nah, not at all. People love to throw around those words socialism and communism a lot. And I feel like they do it. I know that they do it to try to sour people on the idea of something like collective action. Collective action like a union. Ever since the Red Scare in the country, the amount of unions in the country has dropped precipitously to the lowest point that it ever has in remembered history. And that's a massive problem because as unions dropped, the amount of money that workers share, stakeholders share taking home of corporate profits has gone down as well. And also, it's gone down as the amount of union membership has gone down in the country. And that's a problem. If you wonder why you're making less comparatively than your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents, well, that's a big reason why. Corporate greed and the lack of unions. And a big push against unions was calling them socialists. And we can see what that has done for the country. It's not good. But unions are starting to come back. Unions are starting to make a return, a great return. You can't kill collective action in a country. You can only suppress it. Just like a phoenix, it rises from ashes. As long as you have people, you'll have a want for collective action. You'll have a want for people to come together to make their lives better. And we're seeing that right now. They're calling this the summer of strikes because unions have started to build up their power and workers, stakeholders, average human beings, middle-class people have started to build up their power together to use it against their corporate overlords who take money from them and abuse their labor and treat them as disposable. And it's starting to become a massive problem for those companies, not because they're losing money, not because they can't afford to take it, but because they don't want to give you something better. As long as you're okay with trash, they're fine feeding you trash. But I don't think your average person is really fine with that. It's just that we've been conditioned to think that that is our only option. Eat trash or starve. And people are starting to realize that that is not your only option, and it will not be our only option. And the summer of strikes proves it. CBS does an interesting job when talking about it.
It's being called the hot labor summer.
A little too fast. See, I have a huge brain and listen to things in my spare time at 2.75 times speed. But, you know, your average person, I really think that you may enjoy something a little bit slower.
It's being called the hot labor summer. From Hollywood to hotels, workers have been walking off the job. Recent data from Cornell University shows around 119,000 U.S. workers were on strike as of May.
That's really good. This is really good. This is something that we haven't seen in a long time. 80 strikes to 154 to 156. We're now in like the 150 range of strikes a year. I'd love it. We got to pump those numbers up. Estimated striking workers from 20,000 to now 119,000. And I think it should be way higher. I think it should be a nationwide strike, honestly. For how much money that these corporations have taken from us during the pandemic, I think that we deserve a massive chunk of that. As companies are making record profits, more money than they ever have, they're getting more stingy with paying their workers than they ever have since the Pinkertons were just generally around. And I think that's sick. I think you deserve more.
See, a fraction of that were on strike in 2021 and 2022. And the demands from employees appear to be the same across different industries: better conditions, protections, and pay. For more on this, let's bring in Seth Harris. He was the former acting U.S. Labor Secretary in 2013 under then President Obama. Seth, thank you so much for being with us. So your alma mater, Cornell University, has found major worker strikes increased by more than 50% in 2022. The Labor Department says that's the second highest level in 2 decades. So what's going on?
Well, John, I'd say that there are 3 things. One is the pandemic. The second is profits. And the third is the political economy. Workers are very angry about how they were treated during the pandemic, particularly frontline workers. They put themselves at risk. Their employers didn't do everything they could to protect them. And so workers felt that the only way to protect themselves going into the future was to come together with their co-workers and organize. Profits at the same time rose dramatically. Think of Amazon, think of UPS. They were making money hand over fist, but they were not sharing that money with the workers who were producing those profits. And finally, we have very tight labor markets, very low unemployment rate, and a president who is very pro-union. All of that helps workers to increase their bargaining power with their employers. 4 million workers are quitting their jobs every month. That means they can go out and find another job fairly easily. That's their assessment. Well, if you can quit your job, you can strike, and there'll always be another job available for you.
Woo! I think they're doing a pretty good job. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be like is CBS socialist? No, but that's not too bad of an analysis of what's going on here. I remember I was working at McDonald's back when the Panny D, as some people are calling it, hit. I was working back then at McDonald's, and so I was in contact with multiple thousands of people a week, thousands of people a day, sometimes, or at the very least, like mid hundreds to high hundreds. Sometimes it's a lot, and so contact with that many people in the middle of one of the worst pandemics that we've seen in like remembered history is scary. But the biggest thing is that I wasn't really scared for me, honestly. I was scared for my parents. My parents are in their 50s, mid to late 50s at the moment, and they have pre-existing conditions, and a lot of them actually. Health problems run in the family. And so I was fearing for their lives, and I had to go home every single day. And I didn't see my parents for multiple days sometimes because I didn't know if I had COVID. And it was before before they had the opportunity to get their shots. So I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to risk, killing my parents because I wanted, to say hi to them. And that's something that I had to think about. And I didn't get any, sorry, my bad. I can't say I didn't get any extra pay. I think for like a couple months, I got a 25-cent raise for doing that. Oh, my bad. Also, somebody through the line gave me a badge to put on my to put on my visor that said essential worker. Yeah, we're essential to be able to use, but we're disposable as well. Which it doesn't sound very correct to me. I guess they think of us as essential as you ordering a meal or through DoorDash or something, and they didn't put a plastic fork so you can't eat it. So I guess the fork was essential, but you're throw it away the second that you have the opportunity to. So I just think it's sad that this has happened, as they're making as much money as possible. Yeah, you do need to be able to quit. And an economy where workers don't fear quitting, where they don't fear going on strike, where they don't fear their jobs, their lives and livelihoods being taken away from them because of big companies view them as non-essential, is a good economy for human beings. It may be bad for companies in the sense of they can't in the short term bump up, like stock buybacks and bump up their stock to record high levels as human beings languish. Maybe that won't happen, but in the long run, our country as like a society run and operated by and held up by human beings will be far better. But that's not what companies worry about. We have conflicting interests. Your interest is to make as much money as possible for you and your family, and and companies' incentive most of the time is to keep as much money from you as possible so they can use it for their shareholders and not their stakeholders. That's the main reason. That's the big point. And if you starve, that's just a you problem. But if like the company starves, well, that's also a you problem, because the people who made the company fall apart are going to leave with multi-billion-dollar severance packages, while you leave with nothing. You leave with a flaming bag of dicks with "fuck you" written in blood on it. And the craziest thing is that you look down and you see a hole in you and you realize that it was your blood. And I just think that's really sad. But things are changing. Things are changing a lot. Let's look at something super interesting. On MSNBC, they recently did an interview with the AFA union head. I believe that's Airline Flight Assistants Union. They're also thinking about going on, if not on strike at the moment, and they have a really interesting conversation about what this means for the future and what this means for the country.
Joining me now to continue our conversation about America's summer of strikes is Sarah Nelson, the president of the Association of Flight Attendants, the largest flight attendants union, former AFA strike chair, and a leading thinker in America on labor unions and labor rights and worker rights. Sarah, it's good to see you again. Thank you for being with us this morning.
It's great to see you, Ali. Thanks so much.
Tell me about what you see going on out there. I gave a lot of specifics about the strikes that are in play, the ones that are happening, but there's something else going on. We've seen a couple years now of increased wages. We're seeing more worker power out there. And to me, these strikes are a demonstration of maybe the potential growing power of the American worker. But you study this more than I do. What do you see?
Well, you talked about it in your opening. You said that in 1981, Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, and not only fired them, but sent some of them to jail and forbid them from working in the federal government ever again, until that part of it was fixed by Clinton 12 years later, when people had already lost their careers.
Yeah, the really interesting thing about that is like Reagan's held up as the superhero of America who saved the country or something, as like most of the problems that you find here today for why people are so poor, why people have such issues, why companies are leaving the country, why manufacturing is hollowed out, why small towns are being hollowed out as well, why brain drain is happening in the middle of the country, why all of these problems are happening, and why we're so held back compared to our sister nations. A lot of it can be traced back to Reagan, the demon, right? And even back when Reagan was a good person, he was a good person in like a previous life before he became Reagan the demon. He actually and gave us and inflicted us with the Reagan sickness. He fucked the country and gave us an STD. The Reagan sickness. Thankfully, it's starting to leave, but the destruction that he did to unions is something that we're even still feeling today. He actually used to be in the union. I think he helped to be on the administration for a union back before he became a horrible person. So weird how that works out, right?
That put open season on unions. And it sent a signal to the corporate elite that they should drag unions into strikes, that they should get rid of workers, replace workers in that way. And we saw
he was the president of a union. Yeah. SAG. Crazy.
Destruction of the percentage of workers who were in labor unions at that same time, starting from 1980 until now. We've seen a drive up of productivity that has been across industries.
You're right. Reagan was America's canon event. You're right.
Oftentimes we see these things sectioned out and talked about by industry. But what you're seeing here is you're seeing everyone from actors to electricians to delivery drivers to teachers all striking together, nurses. And they're striking for the same reasons. They're striking against two-tiered employment. They're striking against this part-time at UPS, same thing. Striking against the shift of healthcare costs to the workers. More and more of that shifted. And they're
Oh yeah, two-tier employment. I think we talked about that when it came to Kellogg as well, right? How there are like two types of employment basically. for your average worker. One, you can kind of get grandfathered in over time, and then like another type of employment that's way easier to get rid of, and that they started phasing out for newer employees. I know for a fact Google does this. Google and Apple are really notorious for doing this specifically. They love to hire like black and brown interns from like other countries or from like poorer backgrounds that they think that they could abuse. Don't hire them actually as being on the payroll, but only hire them as temporary interns and pay them either nothing or very little, and then have like a rotating door so they don't like spend enough time there for them to actually be able to ask for more benefits and more pay and higher wages and better like working conditions and everything. It's crazy how that works out. Twitter did this a lot, right? I think Twitter did that a decent amount. At the moment, Elon's doing something slightly worse, which is that after he kicked out everybody from Twitter in Silicon Valley, it makes it even worse, because in Silicon Valley, basically what happens is that there are a lot of workers who are there on work visas, and so they can't just bounce around jobs, because if they spend too long getting a job, the government will come find them and kick down their door and throw them on the first midnight plane back to whatever country they came from without any ifs, ands, or buts, and which is a massive problem because they could like endanger their family. They could be poor or something, right? Without them, and sending money back is way different, and like the price and the cost of food and housing and everything is bad. So you need like American money to pay like American bills a lot of the time, and so there are people who are basically like trapped at Twitter after he made Twitter 2.0, where he basically reduced pay, reduced wages, increased hours worked, and all of that type of stuff. And now they're just like rattling the bars, let me out, and they just, a lot of the times they just can't leave. There have been some who've been able to leave, but would you bet be honest, would you bet your family living on the street over you leaving Twitter? Would you bet that? I think a lot of people wouldn't make that bet, It's like if I tell you that there's a 0.5% chance that your car blows up in the morning when you turn the key. I think a lot of people wouldn't want to turn the key, honestly. Basically indentured servitude. Well, as the wages get worse and the hours worked get harsher and the working conditions get worse and you get less benefits, it starts to get way closer. Starts to get way closer, don't it? To get way closer to indentured servitude. Crazy how that works out.
Striking for that living wage. Ever since that time, and unions have been on decline, the corporate elite have decided that we are a line item that they can treat as a line item. And that is what workers across industries have experienced. We experienced it even worse during the pandemic, that we were not only a line item, they saw us as disposable, and workers are rising up and striking back, and they're doing it together. There's more solidarity than we've ever seen before, because today the worker is not just a white man, it's everyone across the industry. It's everyone across the working class. And that solidarity is rising up, especially with this Gen Z leading us. And we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take the fact that that gluttony and greed is driving our economy.
And that gluttony and greed is on full display, right? The stock market's doing well. Corporate profitability is at record highs. Executive compensation is at record high. And executive compensation, the spread between what CEOs make and what the worker at a company makes, is also at record highs.
Thank you. It's not just that the CEOs are making more money. It's the CEOs are making way more money in comparison to your average person. So something's wrong. Why are they telling us that they can't give us raises and they need to do layoffs? Is they're also telling their shareholders that they're going to be making more money, and they're also telling that their executive board is going to be making more money, and their CEOs are going to be making more money. It seems like the only people who aren't going to be making any more money is going to be us. It's curious how that works out, right? Is that because they don't have any more money to give? Or is that because they know who they want to give their money to, and it just isn't you? It's like 400 times more? Yeah, in some cases it's 400 times more. And they like to get around it by, do you know what Elon Musk's actual wage from Tesla is? He'll try to tell you this type of stuff. They'll try and get around this type of stuff by doing stuff like this. Elon Musk's actual wage from that's on the public record, since it's a publicly owned company. Not publicly owned. It's a publicly traded company. $1. It's actually $89,000. It's lower than some engineers, actually. But the problem is, and then he'll try and say, well, I actually don't make that much. I don't make that much money from Tesla. What a lot of these corporations are doing these days is they're making sure that their CEOs on the books get paid not that much, $89,000 a year, which is still a lot of money for your average person, but for like a CEO, it seemed like very low. And somebody will try to lie to you to try to tell you that Elon doesn't make that much money, but then you wonder like where all that money actually came from if he's one of the richest people in the world. And what it comes from is the stocks. He's paid in stocks, and a large portion of the amount of money that he has is in stocks. And so that's why they care so much about stocks. Almost everybody at the top echelon of the company is paid mostly in stocks. And so if you ever wonder why they're bumping so much money into stocks, it's for two reasons. One, because they have a fiduciary responsibility, legal fiduciary responsibility to make as much money as possible for the shareholders. And that means taking money out of the mouths of the stakeholders. Stakeholders are people who have stake in the company, as in it's their fucking job. Shareholders are people who own small parts of the company by giving the company money, and they're told that they own like 0.00000.5% of the company or some shit like that, right? But like people like Elon and Zuck and these types of people are paid with stocks, basically. So he can sell off some stock. He's given like a massive chunk of stocks, a large portion of the stock pool, and basically a large portion of like the company itself. And then there are like some deals for how much he can actually do some machinations, and then he's able to sell off some stocks whenever he wants to get an extra $1 billion in his pocket. That's basically how it works, right? So they'll try to tell you, doesn't Elon? Yeah, he owns like over half of Tesla. He owns over half of all Tesla stocks. It used to be more, but ever since he bought Twitter, he's just been burning money and he's been forced to sell off a bunch of Tesla stocks. So it used to be a lot more. But I think he still owns like more than half, if not just like a large chunk, right? Isn't Elon the richest man? Elon isn't the richest man anymore. Some French dude did. Yeah, this Twitter debacle has had him burning money, and Twitter is losing money every single day. Still a couple million every single day. You know, things aren't looking very good for him mostly. And most of his money isn't liquid. I don't really care about his money being liquid. He still has more money than most of the world, and more money than a lot of the world combined. You know, as some people in the world are living off of 17 cents a day, he's getting 17 cents every like one billionth of a millisecond. So I don't really think that these two things are really comparable. Practically, and on paper, he's richer than the entire world, except for maybe literally one guy. And I don't think that's very good. I don't think that's very good at all. And remember how I said earlier that these companies want to make you starve. Some people, some like libertarians or whatever, some like the pro corporation people who love corporations more than they love human beings will try and tell you something along the lines of, that's being a little hyperbolic. Is it hyperbolic? Is it really hyperbolic when they literally come out and say the end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their houses? Because personally, I think that that's exactly what they believe. And it seems like they're telling us that's exactly who they are. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. War of attrition. Yup. Regardless of whether SGA, this is the writers union, is that right? It's another. Whoa, wait a second. What? This is stage union. Screen Actors, yeah. This is such a long ass fucking name. The Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Long ass name. But yeah, this is the Screenwriters Guild. Regardless of whether the Screenwriters Guild goes on strike this week, newsflash, they did. Spoiler, sorry. The studios have no intention of sitting down with the Writers Guild for several more months. It's crazy how that works out, isn't it? Do these people really care about their workers that they don't plan on going to sitting down with them to fix issues with their pay and with their benefits? I think that's very curious, if I'm going to be honest with you. If you think that somebody said something that is worth playing, I promise you that I have it. I think we're in for a long strike, and they're going to let it bleed out, said one industry veteran, intimate with the POV of studio CEOs. With the scribes strike now finishing its 71st day, an actors union just 30 hours from a possible labor action of its own. Once again, spoilers, it happened. The Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers are planning to dig in hard this fall before entertaining the idea of more talks with the WGA. I've learned. Not Halloween precisely, but late October for sure is the intention, says top-tier producer close with Carol Lambardini. Close to Carol Lambardini Run? Who the fuck? Wait, who? That's a real name. That's an incredible thing. That is the most Italian name I've heard in my entire life. It's like if their name was like Claire
this
Macaroni.
Name is very real.
Oh my goodness. Mark Bippity Boppity. So true. Hey, I'm walking here. Hey, I'm walking here. Hey. Tortellini. While some dismiss this as just cynical strike talk, cynical strike talk, studio and streamer sources around town confirm the strategy. They also confirm a plan to grind down the guild has been long in the works for a labor cycle that all sides agree is a game changer one way or another for Hollywood. It's been agreed on for months, even before the WGA went out. One executive said, "Nobody wanted a strike, but everybody knew this was make or break." No, stop. You wanted a strike. What you didn't want was to fucking pay them and give them good working conditions. That's what you didn't want. You don't like a strike because a strike is disruptive and you lose money, and you care more about money than you care about human beings. You wanted a strike because you didn't want to give them the simple thing of basic human respect and pay for and a share of the work that they did that made you money. Without your workers, you'd be nothing. You'd just be a legal entity with nothing that nobody would care about. Human beings make shows. Human beings make TV. Human beings do all of the things that you enjoy, all of the entertainment that you consume, all of the things that you love and like that have changed your life, that you have hanging up on your walls or like playing in your head or on your radio. Human beings make that. Companies don't. Companies profit from them. Human beings make them. That's the difference. And so, yes, you did want to strike. You didn't want to pay them. That's the only thing you didn't want. Really, you wanted them to shut up and be paid pennies, and that's basically it. And no, I think human beings who deserve more should ask for more and should get more. That's just me though. Receiving positive feedback from Wall Street since the WGA went on strike May 2nd. This basically means that Wall Street thinks that the strike won't be that disruptive. This is people in the stock market betting that the strikes won't last that long or be that disruptive for these companies. Basically, that's what they think. It's a little Wall Street gambling on human beings being paid less and get worse working conditions. Warner Bros. Discovery, Apple, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Paramount, and others. Oh my gosh, nightmare fucking blunt rotation. Have become determined to break the WGA. As one studio exec bluntly put it, to do so, the studio and the AMPTP believe that by October, most writers will be running out of money after 5 months on the picket line and no work. The end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their homes, a studio executive told Deadline, acknowledging the cold as ice. I would say inhumane, but okay, Deadline, you could say cold as ice as well. That is also a way you could describe it, I guess. Evil is another way you could describe it. Criminal in a just world is what this would be. Several other sources reiterated that statement. Several! If you ever wondered what they think of you, this is what they think of you. You know what? Let the bot play this one out again. Read it again, bot.
The end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their houses.
I think that's an incredible thing, don't you? I think that's an incredible thing. You go, hey, you're making more money. I think me, who gave you that money, should get some of that money. And they go, hot! They laugh in your face. They literally just laugh. I think that's, yeah, fuck these people. Nars. Lamau. Okay, several sources reiterated the statement. One insider called it cruel but necessary. If it wasn't for the laws of Twitch.tv, I would cook your ass to kingdom come, brother. You will not see the pearly gates. You will not. Necessary. I got something necessary for you, okay? It's with a couple planks of wood and a big sharp piece of metal. But anyways, moving on. And maybe a string as well. Maybe. The studios and streamers next think financially strapped writers would go to WGA leadership and demand that they restart talks before a very cold Christmas. In that context, the studios and streamers feel they would be in a position to dictate most of the terms of any possible deal. So basically what they want to do is make them starve. Is that a real functioning economy to you? Is that a functioning economy to you? Work as much as I tell you to. Get paid as little as I tell you to, and your job is as dangerous as I want it to be, and you starve. Does that sound like a free work condition, like a free work contract to you? That sounds free? That doesn't sound free to me. Be paid as little as possible or starve is not very free to me, I think. I think the people who actually make these companies what they are honestly deserving a little bit more than to be treated as slaves, basically. But that's just me. Trade offer. I get everything. You get nothing. I just think it's very sad. I think it's very sad, if I'm going to be honest. Very, very sad indeed. And I mean, all of them believe something like this. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, says that the union's demands are to be paid more and to have better working conditions is not realistic, as this guy just got a pay boost. Okay? As escalated strike looms. Not realistic, he says. In a newsmaking interview with CNBC on Thursday, Walt Disney Corporation's Bob Iger said WGA's strike and imminent SGA strike are very disturbing. What I think is disturbing is that you're being paid hundreds of times more than your average Disney worker while doing hundreds of times less important work. That's what I think. I think somebody who puts together shows that make you money is more, he could be replaced with a fucking bot. If anybody could be replaced with a robot, a CEO can be replaced with a robot. Okay? If anybody can. It takes human hands and human hearts to make the media that we enjoy. It takes a computer to write those deals down. And that's basically it. That's what I think, personally. Yeah, work or be homeless. Very fair company, I see. Very fair working conditions we have here. I see. Very disturbing. And will have very, very damaging effects on the whole business. Good. Fuck you. Fuck you. I hate you. Get out of here. You know what? Here, wait a second. This is what I have to say to Bob Iger. Found it.
Stupid. Get out of here. Fuck you. You are a liar. I hate you. I don't give a fuck.
True. You owe me money. You owe me money. Fuck you. I hate you. You owe me money. Get out of here.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
It's so good. average Silicon Valley Hollywood exec. Anyways, this is the worst time in the world to add to the disruption, Iger said, adding that he respects the right and their desire to be compensated fairly. I respect that they want fair wages, but Also, that unions have to be realistic about the business environment and what the business can deliver. Oh, you mean like those record profits that you have and those stock buybacks that you guys have been doing? I know about this because like I used to hold stock in Disney. I don't have stock in Disney anymore. I sold it. But I had stock in Disney for a little while. So I got to listen in on some of the Disney calls and they're public. And yeah, they're making more than enough money. They're making way more than enough money. They still canceled their dividend. But they're making more than enough money to be able to give to people. Disney ended last year as the 6th consecutive year in a row as the top movie maker in the entire world. And you're going to sit here and tell me that the business environment means that you can't deliver on living wages for your workers? That doesn't sound like a functional business to me. Any business that can't pay their workers fairly is a failing business. Now, Wall Street may say that it's a succeeding business, and maybe the government may say that it's a succeeding business, but a failing business to human beings is one that can't pay them fairly. You're not making enough money to be able to do it. You're a failed business, and you either need to step up or step back. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. You know, things have gotten so bad that these people have even started to speak out. People have really started to speak out.
The CEO of Disney went on TV and said that what writers and actors are asking for is not realistic because they just don't have enough money to pay us. But he said this at a billionaire retreat where he was hanging out with Mark Zuckerberg and David Zaslav that they all flew to on their private jets. And you know what? I don't think that that's fucking realistic. Here's a dose of reality for you, Bob. Writers cannot afford to pay their mortgages. Actors are not able to make a living in Los Angeles anymore. That is reality to us, not flying around on private jets. And until you accept that reality, we are going to be out here on the picket lines, withholding our labor, depriving you of your product, and you will not make another dollar off of us until you come back to the table and face reality and negotiate with us as you have refused to do. And until you do that, there will be no acting and no writing. So this morning...
Phew! Sheesh! Oh, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam ruins capitalism. Adam fucks Bob Iger in the ass. True. I can't think of anything more true than this. Speak, talk that shit. Talk that shit, nigga. Let's go, Adam. I love this so much because it's true. It's more true than you could even possibly imagine. It's so true. You know what's unrealistic? The amount of money that these people have. Nobody should have the amount of money that Zaslav has, that Iger has, that Elon has, that Zucker has, that Bezos has. Nobody should have that amount of money. No one. Zero. Nada. Nope. They shouldn't. They just shouldn't. They just shouldn't. Because that money that could have been going to them to pay them obscene, unimaginable levels of wealth could have gone to increase the wages for real human beings on the ground who are barely scraping by, who are actually making the product that they're making that much money from. I think the people whose backs you use as tables to snort your fucking coke and count your dollars on deserve the money, at least under capitalism, a part of it that they make for you, Mr. Iger, that they make for you. And I mean, things have started to get, things have started to get bad. You know, things have started to get really bad. When I say really bad, I mean, you know, the Guild have started to break into. I mean, this is in California, but the Guild has even started to break into Las Vegas. Did you see that huge Vegas dome? They literally hacked the dome, and they played a message for Iger and crew. Take a look at this.
The motherfucker who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, motherfucker. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial, some of it is karma, and some of it is just figuring out who the fuck said that. And we know who said that, and where he fucking lives. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people. You wish that families starve while you're making $27 fucking million a year for creating nothing. Be careful, motherfucker. Be really careful. Because that's the kind of shit that stirs shit up. Peace out.
Peace out. Peace. He low tier God at him. He low tier God at him. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. Of the menacing vibe. He deserves it. Listen. How could I say this? How could I say this in a way that won't get me TOS'd? These billionaires only exist because we allow them to. There you go. So it is true. It is true that they only exist because we simply allow them to. And if things changed, it would change for them very quickly. Now, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just stating, and listen, we want to talk about reality. We can talk about reality. The reality is, if these people keep acting like this, if they keep trying to ruin people's lives for their own personal gain, something's going to break. Something's going to break, and it's not going to be us. Because we are strong. We are workers. There's a weak link in this chain, and it isn't the workers who built it. That's just what I think. And on that, one of the big reasons why they're so against this union strike is because of technology, because of AI. It's become a big thing. We've heard a lot of companies start to try to use AI to cut out labor costs. And what they mean by labor costs is they want to fire people so they can use a robot to make shittier work that resembles work that a human would do. And it started to get bad. So bad, in fact, that this is a nightmare idea that I just heard that a lot of these writers, that a lot of these companies will want to institute in the future. Listen to how dystopian this sounds.
But this groundbreaking AI proposal that they gave us yesterday, in that groundbreaking AI proposal, they proposed that our background performers should be able to be scanned, get paid for 1 day's pay, and their company should own that scan, their image, their likeness, and should be able to use it for the rest of eternity in any project they want with no consent and no compensation. So if you think that's a groundbreaking proposal, I suggest you think again. But this...
Whoo! Get the fuck out. Yeah, basically it's an accelerated, way nastier version of using AI to like deep fake another actor's face from like a time before they acted or when they were younger into a production. It's a way more nasty version of that, where now they want to have you come in, have you record something, get your face from every angle, get your body from every angle, get like your voice doing different inflections and everything, and run that through a bot. And then own that digital, the whole digital persona of you, your mind, your voice, your body, your likeness, your everything except for your mind. And they pull that out and they want to put a bot in that to be able to have you say or do and puppet around your like digital corpse for money and profit forever, without paying you any residuals, without paying you any royalties, without paying you anything, to make money off of you for the end of time, for you doing a day's work that they can get a century of money from. The end goal of capitalism, right? This is a nightmare. It is. It's like, holy shit, they actually wanted to make stormtroopers. They wanted to make digital stormtroopers. Holy crap. Digital clone troopers. Holy crap. Disney is trying to make digital clone troopers, bro. No, dude. They're doing it. They're literally doing it. That's their actual end goal right now. And so if you were in this position, wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't you want to strike? Wouldn't you want to strike? Wouldn't you want to say no to that? I think so. It would basically end everybody's career, and we would get like carbon copied shitty work forever. They want to use like Midjourney to make TV shows, and they want to make ChatGPT write those shows. I think that's insane. I genuinely think that's insane. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. Yeah, they want to like Control C, Control V human beings as workers now. to reduce labor costs, to destroy the working class is what they mean by that. That's the goal. It's time for these companies to step up. How Duncan Crabtree said, it's time for them to step up and make a fair deal. It's time. And to stop doing stuff like this. Wait, what is this? What you sent me? Notice of filming today. Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures will be filming at this location today. By entering this location, you irrevocably consent to authorize Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, its affiliates, its successors, and assigns collectively producer to photograph you, make audio and video recordings of you, to use such photographs in recordings throughout the world for any purpose whatsoever, in perpetuity and in any media, including but not limited to online, social media, streaming platforms, television, broadcast, and home entertainment products. And such photographs will and recordings will be the sole property of the producer. Okay. How about you go to federal prison forever? Get out of here! Fuck you. I hate you. You owe me money. True. Yeah, low tier god. Yeah, somebody should have low tier godded them. Straight to jail. Yeah, turning the park guests into scabs is pretty crazy, I will say. They're trying to do anything they can. They're trying to do anything they can to make this work, huh? They're trying to do anything they can. It's starting to fall apart. You love to see it. You love to see the desperation. That means it's more likely for them to break than us. And things are starting to get bad, okay? They're going to like classic union breaking tactics. Like they've even started to weaponize climate change. Did you know that? Did you know that they've started to weaponize climate change against the workers? Take a look at this. Quick shout out to the good people at Universal Pigs for trimming the trees that gave our picket line shade right before the 90-degree week. Wow, how nice. So basically what happened is on the property that they own, the companies paid for these trees to all be trimmed, butchered in a specific way to make it as little shade as possible on 90-degree days, 90 and 100-degree days. So the workers would like burn to death or have to stop early or to break them at all. It was illegal, by the way. Those trees were city property, not Universal. Is that true? Wait a second. Los Angeles City Controller's Office says it's investigating the trimming of tree branches on a stretch of roadway outside Universal Studios. The studio owners, NBC Universal, have denied making conditions for striking actors more difficult in the intense heat. It's a series of posts on social media. LA City Controller Kenneth Magia initially wrote that the trees concerned are LA City managed, and that while public workers agencies Streets LA are responsible for the tree maintenance, a business can also obtain a permit to trim a tree. In a later update, he added, with cooperation from the Bureau of Street Services, we have found that no tree trimming permits have been issued over the last 3 years for the location outside Universal Studios. Also, the city did not issue any tree trimming permits for the latest tree trimmings. Strikers on the picket line outside of Universal Studios Gate 8 in Barham Boulevard first reported the work on Monday, complaining.
Very real.
Thank you, Marjorie. You're right, Marjorie. This is pretty real. Complaining that the line of ficus trees that had provided shade from what was forecasted to be a 33C day, but in real human being numbers, 91 degrees Fahrenheit, heat had been severely cut back. Oh, that's very curious. Oh, LA City Controller. Oh, that is very strange. Huh. That is what a coinky dink, don't you think? What a wacky coincidence. For these trees, just as soon as strikes happened, a couple days into the strike happening, the trees with no permit controlled by the city and not the company were trimmed right outside the company, right where the workers were striking too. That's so weird. I wonder what happened. Do you think they cut themselves? You think that's what happened, guys? Because the company said that they would never do something like that. They said they would never do something like that. They said NBC Universal said we understand the safety tree trimmings of the ficus trees we did on the Barron Boulevard. Wait. So at first they denied that they cut the trees. And now they're saying that they did cut the trees, but then they said, we understand that the safety tree trimming of the ficus trees that we did on Barham Boulevard has created unintended challenges for demonstrators. That was not our intention. In partnership with licensed arborists, we had pruned these trees initially annually this time of year. We support WGA and SGA's right to demonstrate, and we would never try to cut the trees to burn them to death in climate change weather. Bull. Oh man, I like to see the receipts for the previous years. Yeah, I'd like to see the receipts for this. NBC Universal also denied it's refusing to create safe pathways for strikers as well with ongoing construction in other parts of the studios. The unions have also complained that NBC Universal did not install temporary pedestrian lanes as well, since people are crossing the road a lot and it's starting to get dangerous and people just don't want to deal with it. That is so peculiar. This coming out of strike, so peculiar, so strange. I can't believe that someone would do something like this. Would you guys? Would you? Who could have seen this coming? Yeah. I think the government should look into this. Look into it a lot. Look into it very, very strongly. We're looking into this very strongly. Very strongly. Is this Sheen Gunn or Sean Gunn? The problem with me not watching that much media is that I don't know who a lot of like famous people who are or like, you know, actors or something are on or like who are here. So I'm a little lost. So I will need your all's help every now and again with this type of stuff. Okay, this is Sean Gunn. Pronounced Sean. Okay, he was in Guardians. Is that true? Was he one of the Guardians of the Galaxy? Was he guarding the galaxy? Is that Marvel guy? Yes. Oh man, he directed. Oh, okay, cool.
Talks about what a shame it is. He needs to remember that in 1980, CEOs like him made 30 times what their lowest worker was making. Now Bob Iger makes 400 times what his lowest worker is, and I think that's a shame, Bob. And maybe you should take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, why is that? And not only why is that, is it okay? Is it morally okay? Is it ethically okay that you make that much more than your lowest worker? And if so, why? Why is that okay? If your response is that that's just the way business is done now, that's just the way corporations work now, well, that sucks, and that makes you a person if that's your answer.
I'm going to take it a step further. If he's going to say that's just how business is, I'm going to say, actually, then that's how it shouldn't be. It may be how it is, but we're not here to talk about how the world is. We're here to talk about how the world should be. And you shouldn't earn that much money, and you don't deserve that much money. Does Bob Iger work 400 times more? Does he work 400 times more hours? Is his job 400 times more dangerous? Is his job 400 times more important than your average worker? I would say no. No, actually, I don't believe so. I don't believe so. With the type of in and out that we've seen with CEOs at these corporations, I don't think so. No, actually. Is it even 30 times? You're even pushing it there, if I'm going to be honest with you. It seemed like these people, it seemed like he has the opportunity to fly out and go to little islands on his private jet and do personal vacations. I don't see any of these people doing drives across the country. They don't have the same amount of time on their hands. It seemed like they work 6 to 7 times a week. It seemed like they work 6 to 7 days a week. Honestly. Seems a bit different, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's curious how that works out. Seems like they don't deserve any of the money that they get with the way that they treat their workers. But that is just me. And thankfully, these union strikers are not alone. Even if things are bad, things aren't bad alone. WGA is striking with Amazon workers at the moment in a solidarity collective effort for both of them to get better wages. So if you were wondering if this was just, if we were just going to be talking about the WGA workers, no, actually. There's so many strikes going on across the country. There's no possible way that we could talk about all of them, but I would like to give as many as possible a little bit of light here. And Amazon's workers striking again for better wages, to not have to be forced to piss in bottles and shit in bags is actually a really good thing. So this is what's happening. We're seeing something that I was really hoping for years ago when we started talking about these issues and when I started this, what the channel is now, which is humans coming together for a better world for all of us. Like, we can talk about this online, but it starts and it ends with people on the street, with people making things happening, organizing the machinations that actually bring about workers' solidarity, that bring about workers' benefits from these companies. We have to steal them from these companies. We have to force these companies to give them to us, because if we don't, then we'll get nothing. Starbucks is on strike at the moment. I know that much. And they're trying to take benefits away from trans workers, which is disgusting. This is what we're doing now. And I love it. And I love to see that this is happening with a new generation that's going to bring this country back from the brink of corporate overlordship that would be damn near impossible to break without collective action. One person they can brush off. The entire workforce they're going to have to talk to at some point in time. And if we're able to support them, if we're able to give them what they need, if we're able to have solidarity with them as well, then they will be able to make a world where we can all be a little happier and we all benefit more from the work that we do for these companies that profit off of us. Cool stuff. But that's just my idea. Now it's time for me to hear yours. Write in the comments. Oh man, I love being a YouTuber. /marker. Come here. Come here. Oh. Hi. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.